What is it you pray for? Is it another Hellraiser reboot? I guess we're gonna find that out today. Hello, and welcome to another audio-only bonus cast of Bomb Squad Movie Nights. I am your host for this particular Hellraiser podcast, Mr. Joseph Henry Vrenick. Today I have with me...
Hello, I'm radio voice Austin Zwiebelman.
I am Tim M. Sullivan, Esquire.
And today we are talking about, Hellraiser 2022, a movie that we didn't really hear anything about until like maybe a few weeks ago, and it dropped at the beginning of October. A remake that's been in the works for quite some time, directed by David Bruckner, which we're going to talk about today. But I think we're gonna start everything off with expectations. Like I said, this has kind of been in the works for quite some time, and the only like small little things were given out about it prior to this. So I am curious. Austin, we're gonna start with you because I know you're a humongous Hellraiser fan. What are your thoughts and opinions on the expectations you had prior to the release of Hellraiser 2022?
I agree with you that I didn't see this coming until it was time for the trailer. And I had the same problem with the trailer that I did for The Little Mermaid. I was like, this would look a lot better if you took a curves tool and you just made it a lot brighter so I could see your work. David Bruckner is one of those names that other people have to remind me what he did, because unlike you guys, I didn't go to see The Night House in theaters. I spared myself that good time because I didn't know about David Bruckner. You guys might have to help me here, but from memory, did he do the VHS segment with the Siren Lady where her face splits open in the middle?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought that, man, that was just one of the best parts of that. I mean, VHS 1 is fucking good, but I think it's safe to say between that and The Night House, David Bruckner has chops. And I always thought it was so absurd that no one could do a good Hellraiser, because I feel like Clive Barker gave them all the tools, and people just needed to use them. All the direct-to-video bad Hellraisers is basically just, they gave this property to idiots so many years in a row. How has no one made a good one? And so I thought that this was just going to be like nothing but net, swish through the basket. It was going to be a good movie. That was the most of what I expected going in.
Hell yeah. Okay. Tim, how about you? What were your expectations going in?
So prior to this movie, the only Hellraiser movies I had seen were the first two, which I'm probably gonna more or less keep it that way. Like I might watch 3 at some point, but like the first 2 are the good ones. But I'd heard things about this that made it sound interesting, and of course, David Bruckner being the director made me more interested. Like, loved The Night House. I went to see that when it came out in theaters. I should check out our bonus podcast on that, because that's just a really good movie. Just a really solid, like, self-contained story that deals with all these like themes of loss and depression, and it's a great movie for people who are like well versed in horror, and also people who are sort of newbies, because like that was one of the first movies that I watched with my girlfriend, who is like dipping her toes into horror. She's not as big into it, but like she's seen some stuff, and I've shown her some stuff. And she loved the hell out of that movie when I showed it to her. And I also watched his movie The Ritual last year, which I really enjoyed, like the creature design on that. Like I thought that was something that was really like unique and cool. So like just from that alone, and then also his VHS segment, like it's very clear that David Bruckner has the chops to make some good ass horror. Um, so I was definitely curious to see what direction he would take Hellraiser in when I heard that he was the one who was directing this one. So, um, it being Hellraiser, cautious optimism about how good it's gonna be, but with his chops behind it, I figured it could be interesting. So I decided to watch it, and I'll let you know more later. Back to you, Joe.
All right. Sorry, I am still recovering from sickness. So yeah, my thoughts, my anticipations. So I had heard that this had been in like the creative woodworks for a hot minute. They've been wanting to remake this thing for, honestly, I want to say pre-pandemic. They've been trying to get this thing made. Um, I don't know how. It's been around for a while. I'm not sure how long, but I know it's been around for a while. And I was just like, uh, prior to my revisit of Hellraiser, I was just like, whatever. I don't care. I'm probably never gonna see it. But then I did my revisit of it over the summer and found my new appreciation for the Hellraiser franchise. I was like, okay, I like this. I do think that there's some things that could be improved upon, though. Specifically budget, because as we discuss in the Hellraiser podcast, the '87 Hellraiser, that movie was made for what, $900,000, like
Yeah.
that much.
Yep.
Which is, especially by today's standards, fucking chump change.
Mm.
It so I think giving it like more of a budget and getting some like real talent behind the camera to helmet could have really helped. And then I found out that David Bruckner had been attached to direct it, who is a director I'm not the most familiar with. Contrary to what Austin said, I also did not see The Night House in theaters.
Hmm.
That was
Um,
just me and Tanner.
Oh.
yep, I I did watch it prior to my viewing of Hellraiser this last summer, and when I found out that he was directing the remake, I was like, okay, I am 100% sold. This guy knows how to keep his themes straight. He also knows how to make some really good horror. Uh, if he takes this and just runs with it, I'm going to be happy. And then that trailer dropped at the arguably most unfortunate time possible, because the day that that trailer dropped, my car died.
No. The old
So yeah.
the kiss of death in the Midwest.
Yeah, my car died, and then they dropped that Hellraiser trailer, and I couldn't be excited for it. But like by the time I was able to work up some excitement for it, I really liked the look of it, and I was like, okay, I feel like that this is gonna be the remake that I think is better than the original, possibly. Who knows? We're gonna find out though. Because we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get into our general thoughts and general discussion on Hellraiser 2022, directed by David Bruckner. We're gonna start with the person I feel like has a little bit more to say about it and is the least hot on it. Austin, can you tell us your thoughts on Hellraiser 2022?
All right. I just want to clarify because this seems to be a running thing on the internet. Jamie Clayton, who I know from Sense8, is now Pinhead in this, and I think Jamie Clayton did the voice really well, and the makeup looks fucking fantastic, and Pinhead is the least of my concerns. So with all that stated, fuck this movie. I did not have fun watching this movie. The fact that it's just like, you must feed the box. So many people die in this movie. Just, oops, I accidentally got pokled by the box, and now I die horribly. And it was just the sequence of just like, listen, we gotta rack up 6 kills. And I think that it was also had that weird sexlessness that modern films have, Like, I think there's a lot of people out there who watch YouTube analysts tell you what a thing in a movie is supposed to be as an excuse for the movie to not have the thing in it. Like, I watched a video where they were talking about, you know, the rich guy in this movie, the guy who instigates the whole plot. Somebody
Yeah.
compared him to Jeffrey Epstein, because he's
Oh,
got like a
God.
female handler who drags people into, you know, his mansion with a sex dungeon, and then he hurts them terribly. But they didn't show any of the fucking. Like, the original Hellraiser has some fucking in it, and I guess in this one, you know, you've got I star in the movie. I am in a girl wig in this movie. My name is Odessa Zion. She's got my weird face, though her curly hair is a little more splendid than mine. And you've got some scenes of her doing the sex, but it's not like what leads anybody to the Pinhead box. So it doesn't have that same through line as the original Hellraisers, where it's like some turbo horny person like, oh, I gotta get that Hellraiser box. I hear they tweak nipples real good. And fucking just so many characters were unlikable in this. There was just so much screaming. It reminded me of the Rob Zombie Halloween films that I also don't like, because people were either talking like normal people, very boring, or they were shouting at each other and getting into conflict. There was none of that like harmonious kind of like down to earth fun movie shit from the first movie. Yeah, it just felt like it was doing the paces and like going along trying to reach this conclusion. I thought that sequence at the end where the guy gets turned into the Lazarus configuration was kind of all right, and if I had seen that in a movie theater, I would have had some respect. But it was like a bad stew. All the ingredients mainly, it all amounted to Sid looking over at me and being like, so that's Hellraiser? And me being like, no, please, you gotta watch the original. So, I don't know if I don't like this because it's a shitty way to introduce Hellraiser, if I don't like this because I wanted my Hellraiser to be more cheerful, which sounds stupid, but that's probably my general impression of the film, is that it felt a little bit soulless. I'm tired of horror movies having to be an allegory about drug addiction. Cheer the fuck up. You're Hellraiser. You used to be great. You could have been a contender. Back to you, Joe.
Well, that's probably the well, at least so far, the most passionate opinion on it. Tim, do you think you could top that?
That was all right.
Yeah. Movie all
Elaborate
right.
on that.
Yeah, I mean it's like I enjoyed the look of it. I think I would have enjoyed it had it been like 20 or 30 minutes shorter. I think that's my biggest problem with it personally, is that it just felt really bloated, and I kind of just started dissociating watching it. Like, it was like I feel like it could have been a good movie if it had just been paced better. It wouldn't have topped the original or Hellbound. I do pretty much agree with Austin's point. Like, it just kind of feels like it's doing the moves, not really just kind of going with the motions, not really putting the right heart into it. I don't know. I watched this on Tuesday and it's Sunday. I don't remember too much about it beyond, like, yeah, it's a drug allegory thing. Yeah, again, like, it looked good, and it had some neat concepts. Like, I enjoyed kind of what they did with the puzzle boxes, where they kind of expanded on that a little bit more. I thought that was kind of neat. I did really enjoy Jamie Clayton's portrayal as the Pinhead. Like, it's neat when it wants to be neat, but it's kind of a lot of waiting around, I guess. Yeah, it's, again, like, it could have been better if it had been a little bit shorter, I think, is just kind of where I'm at. I don't know. Back to you, Joe.
Okay. I don't think I'm gonna be able to top Austin's passion, because I'm honestly kind of in the same boat as Tim. I think that this movie is very okay. I gave it a 4 stars at the time, which was last night. I watched this for the first time last night. I don't know how long that's gonna last though, because I've already kind of started to forget a lot of it. Um,
That might be a bad sign.
yeah, that
that
that's
I
that
don't have too much to say about it, and you're already starting to slip.
yeah, this is it's not a good sign when I'm already starting to forget about it, and I literally just watched this last night. The one thing that I will say that I probably won't forget about this is all the Cenobite stuff in this. Like when they show up and they come out to play, man, oh man, they look fucking great. I really
Mm-hmm.
like the look of the Cenobites in this. I really like Pinhead in this.
Mhm.
I think Jamie Clayton does a really fucking great job of making Pinhead in this fucking creepy. Um, like there's that one shot. It's like towards the end of the movie, after they have like the whole van chase, and their friend gets taken, and she's like standing like at the opposite end of like this water, like pond or whatever. That our main character's like standing on the bridge over, and she's just kind of looking over at our main character. It's fucking creepy.
Mhm.
Like just whenever she is on screen, it is genuinely unsettling, and I think the way that they were able to shoot her specifically, it just gave her this aura of terror. So props to you for making Pinhead scary, David Bruckner. Uh, I think a lot of my issues with the movie, though, I agree with Tim. I think this movie could be significantly shorter. Um, and Austin brought this point up. Yeah, they need to fix the contrast of this because there's bits of this that's just like, what? Why is it this dark? You've got some really cool looking visuals, but do they really need to be this dark?
Mhm.
Let's just tone up the shadows a bit. Let us see what's going on a bit. Um, God, and yeah, that arguably that's like my biggest problem is it's kind of just starting to fade from memory. It's a little forgettable. It's kind of by the books, like we talked about. I honestly I kind of find it on par with the original. To where I would say this, it's like, you know what? If somebody wanted to remake the 2022 Hellraiser movie, please fucking do it. There's definitely room for improvement. Uh, which that's not really a good sign. It was kind of disappointing in that regard. Because man, oh man, I kind of trusted David Bruckner to really bring this one home, but he wound up just making an okay movie. Is there anything that we specifically want to talk about with this movie? Or is there anything that we even can remember to talk about?
That's weird. I remember this movie vividly. I've forgotten none of what happens in this movie. I just hate it. Maybe my hate is allowing it to stick in my memory. That would be funny. Rebooting a reboot. You know, all those movies like Hellraiser, Homecoming, with Andrew Garfield, with Tom Holland. There we go.
There we go.
I what the 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 twist was weak. The twist where it's just like, oh, the boyfriend was working with the rich guy the whole time. I don't think the way that played out was, I don't know, as impactful as it could have been. Partially because I think the boyfriend actor, he just didn't have two personas. He was just this poor little schmuck who was just like, oh, well, I'm making good money, and he acts the same whether or not he's betraying you. And I was like, maybe you should have invented a devious persona so that this would land better. And I did not give a shit about any of the supporting characters. I didn't give a shit about the little gay boyfriend. Her brother was fucking annoying. Also, it's so weird they kill her brother first. Like, usually with a horror movie, they keep the one that you don't want the protagonist to lose nearby so that they're, like, the last person to die or something. And in this one, it's just like, oh, he dies, and she spends the whole movie trying to get him back, and whatever high-brained idea she had that she could resurrect him using these fuckers. It just, it doesn't, it doesn't work so well in your head. There would have been a point along the way where that part of her that wanted to throw the box away would be like, you know, maybe these demons can't get my brother back. Long before she eventually realizes it. Like, the rich guy has to tell her, like, oh, I'm sorry, they speak an opposite world. They say the opposite of what they mean to say. And then it hits her. Oh, yeah, they're not going to bring my brother back. Fucking stupid. Dumb screenplay. Bad David S. Goyer.
Yeah, I think that maybe is like why it doesn't stick as much in my head is just because like the character dynamics were so odd to me. I don't know. It just played really weirdly, and just doesn't really stick for me.
Oh, you like a movie where the first 3 kills they don't even show you? Like when they had the little gay dude in the chains, like the end of Hellraiser 1 in the beginning. I was pointing at the screen like Leo. I was like, Sid, look, they're gonna rip him to shreds, and then they don't. And I was like, oh well, okay, that's fine. And then like her brother, same thing, disappears into a bathroom. Ghislaine Maxwell disappears into a hospital. They put a pin in her, and then she's gone. They just don't show you the kills. I don't even think they show you Van Lady, and that's one of the more cool looking kills in the movie is. The lead up to Van Lady getting sucked out of the van. They just don't show you a lot of these kills.
Yeah, that's God, that's arguably one of the biggest disappointments of it is just the lack of gore in this. Where honestly, I feel like if you were gonna reboot it, you should have just maxed that shit up. Just you should have gotten more intense with it. But yeah,
Like,
they kind of skimp out on it.
yeah, they were like, we're going to make it artsy. We're going to make the kills be a bokeh in the background.
My husband had a really bad reaction to Jeffrey Epstein getting his skin ripped off on a crucifix thingy. And he was just like, oh, that might have been too intense. And it was just like, I think you were probably he was just bored from watching this whole movie with no gore leading up to that. Like, they're trying to, like, make that last bit really impactful. And that's not fun, per se. Like, that you're just left at the end like, oh, that last thing was gross. Like, you just gotta, like, have it be kind of gross the whole time, because it's a fun horror movie. Like, they didn't... Their strategy for this was ill thought out.
Speaking of strategy, can I talk about the one aspect of it that I wasn't the biggest fan of because it just felt like it belonged in a different movie?
What?
So they find out that with the puzzle box, if you stab one of the Cenobites with it,
oh yeah,
like that counts as a sacrifice. So they get the harebrained scheme because they're coming out to either they got to take one of them or they got to take our main character. So they get the harebrained idea. Okay, let's get one of these Cenobites into this mansion and then just lock him in. And we're going to try and stab him, and he'll be the next sacrifice. On the one hand, I think that's a kind of a fun idea for like a Hellraiser sequel that doesn't really take itself seriously. But for this movie specifically, I felt that just did not work. It felt like something that belonged in a completely different movie.
Well, it's a goofy loophole. Like, what's the point? If the box gives you the power to kill the people that haunt you from the box, it's not as scary of a box now, is it?
Not really.
It was very silly, and then you get the whole, like, the mixed motivations of the rich guy who stabs, like, one of her friends or something. When they've got the Cenobite trapped in the mansion, the rich guy pops out with his fucking harp inside of his stomach, and I think he, like, stabs the gay boyfriend. And his servant man, the main character's boyfriend, is like, why'd you do that? We could have just stabbed a Cenobite. And the rich guy's like, oh, fuck you, I'm rich. And then later it's revealed that the rich guy is very scared of the Cenobites and doesn't like them. And it was like, man, none of this works. That wasn't thought out. You should have just stabbed a Cenobite. You should just go and stab all the Cenobites. Fuck you. I mean, you have the box. Go kill them. It was goofy.
Yeah, pretty much.
The dynamics of it didn't quite map out.
Yeah, but then again, I guess that's also what you get when, and I literally found out that he wrote this last night as I was watching the script, but I guess that's what you get when you have David S. Goyer writing the script, because that man just cannot. And he's even admitted that he has a problem with this, but David S. Goyer just cannot find the right tone of like comical and like serious. Because he will go like too far in one direction and have like all these goofy like little bits in his stories happen, or he'll go uh far too off in the goofy section, and then you can't take any of the serious moments seriously. Um, watch Batman versus Superman
Oh
for an
god.
example of that. Yeah,
Didn't he?
uh,
He also wrote The Dark Knight, though, right?
he did write The Dark Knight. That's a good example of like him finding a balance of all of that. But man, oh man, Batman versus Superman is one of his weaker scripts in that regard. Because man, oh man, it wants to be taken more seriously, but also it wants to have Batman hit Superman over the head with a toilet.
Right. Jesus Christ. Oh shit! I had a fucking thing. Now you guys are rubbing off on me. Now I'm forgetting parts of the movie. It was bound to happen.
Christ.
Hellbound.
Yep.
Oh, so there's a point where Odessa Zion's character comes back, and her brother, like, she can't take her shoes off without making bowling pin noises. And so her gay brother, who's having gay, loving sex with a book or something in the other room, his boyfriend's like, please don't go out there and yell at your sister. And she just keeps making bowling pin noises. And so the gay brother goes out, and he's like, hey, you're drunk. And they don't show us a scene of her getting fucked up or anything in between her stealing the box and coming home. So I was just like, why is this guy yelling at her? What's going on? Is she drunk or not? Is she high? Why wouldn't they just show us an insert shot of her getting fucked up? Because if she's like,
Yeah.
go on, sorry.
Yeah, that whole thing is so weird. That feels like insert scene here in editing was a thing, but they forgot to put in that scene. Because I was like, wait, what? What the fuck is going on here?
I wonder if they like shot more than was included in the movie, and they just like cut a bunch of stuff because it was already 2 fucking hours long. And they just like the things they cut were the wrong things.
They've got a scene of Ghislaine Maxwell getting fucking destroyed and a scene of Van Lady getting ripped to shreds, and they're like, you know what we actually need? We need more scenes of her playing pinball at her boyfriend's apartment. That's what we need. Just all the wrong choices.
God.
Well, it reminds me of this Bruce Campbell quote that was said. I can't remember if this was for the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead or Evil Dead Rise, but Bruce Campbell at a convention once said, the Evil Dead movie in production is going to be an R-rated movie. They do not make $100 million unrated movies these days. And so there could be a thing where maybe they had to cut stuff for the MPA. Like, maybe that was a thing. I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, I've not heard anything about that either.
But they should have had a scene of her getting fucked up, because him being able to yell at her and convince her to leave if she was sober doesn't make any sense. She would have put up more of a fight if she actually was sober. And if she was fucked up on pills, we kind of got to see it so that we can feel anything other than, like, bad for this lady and confused. Yeah. That was silly.
God, I feel like Tanner on Halloween Kills cast. I'm kind of starting to talk myself out of this one.
The rich guy's house, though, that was cool. That was a really cool set.
It was a really cool set, and I will say, the film does start off kind of strong, where it's like they just kind of leave a lot of like what's going on in the background to your imagination, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be exciting. Okay, what's going on here? And then it just kind of it kind of just pumps the brakes a bit. unfortunately.
It has magnificent pacing in the beginning and one of the funniest scene transitions. If you know a little bit about like geography, it goes from like Serbia, like just some fucking random dark part of Serbia, to the Berkshires, Massachusetts. When I saw that contrast, I was just like, all right, we went from the place that you dead drop dark web fucking drugs to the place where the richest of the rich people live. That is baller. That's cool. And it does it within like a 5-minute span. I'm like, I'm gonna love this movie. So yeah, the beginning is paced well and pretty good.
How do we feel about I guess because now I'm starting to just like pull at straws for stuff to talk about. How do we feel about the puzzle box look in this? Do you
I
think
dig it.
do you think it should have been more simple, or do you think it's too complex? What
I
are our thoughts on it?
I think given that it's like a new reimagination or like just like a new installment of a pre-established thing, I'm okay with it being like a more complex design, and like I thought it was neat. Like that was one of my higher points on it, was that it was a little more creative with that.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
Simon Says, the guy who made the puzzle box originally, the original Lament configuration back in the 80s, he passed away in 2017. And so I'm wondering if in his will, like this was only able to be made because he left them the design to a better puzzle box. He was like, guys, listen, Hellraiser has been on its last legs for a while, but get this, I made 7 more configurations of the puzzle box. And then they were just like, wow, now we can greenlight the new Hellraiser movie. It adds to the plot, because now there's, like, an end goal and, like, now a kill quota. It's kind of lame, though, because it is, like, very much a device that leads to a kill quota. It's just like, okay, well, 5 more people gotta die in this movie before we can get to the final box. But I don't know. I don't mind it so much. I think that just the players and how the plot went down made the kill count kind of an endurance test instead of a fun thing. It was just like, they introduced them all in the beginning. They're like, this is random roommate, this is gay boyfriend, there's a rich guy in the walls, and you're like, oh gee, I wonder what's gonna happen. I don't know. It would have been funny if they went out somewhere, like, more populated. Like, if there were more chaotic variables introduced into what was basically kind of like a couple of bottle films crashing into each other. I just could think of a million ways I would have done this, and I don't know if I would have pursued this exact path. But also, I wasn't working for Hulu. What's weird is, you guys watch the movie Fresh on Hulu? That movie with Daisy Edgar Jones and Sebastian Stan?
I haven't.
Fuck.
Sadly, yes.
Okay, I actually really liked Fresh. I thought Fresh was kind of fucking scary. So I thought Hulu was just, like, gonna do this shit. They had Prey, that new Predator movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought Hulu was doing pretty good with horror until they got hit with the Hellraiser curse. I'm starting to think this franchise is cursed.
Yeah. You gotta have Clive Barker directly involved for it to be good.
Yeah. I actually think he was kind of involved with this, wasn't he?
I am sure he gave it his blessing. I am sure they read that. I read that somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, it's the John Carpenter thing of, like, I love when they make a new movie, because then I just do this magical thing where I sit down on my couch and I hold out my hand and somebody gives me a check.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything through it. Or so yeah, it might have it might have just been a thing where it's just like, yeah, sure, why not?
I'm going back to that thing that I mentioned. I can't remember which podcast, but when a movie is novelistic, when you adapt something, like the best example of this recently is the Sandman Netflix show, when something feels like it has the coked up energy of a book, where they just went nuts with the storytelling and damn the expense. Or sometimes it just has that refined kind of nice literary edge, like the original Hellraiser movie. Like, the plot of, like, this guy who gets cuckolded by his brother who's back from the dead and has no skin. Like, that sounds more like a book than just your generic, like, movie from the bargain bin. And this does not have that novelistic edge. This does not remind me of a book. This reminds me of shit that was inspired by other elevated horror movies. Like somebody like saw the A24 offerings and went, let's do that to Hellraiser. And didn't quite catch the magic spark.
Yeah.
Should have been more like a book.
Yeah, I think that kind of speaks to the whole like elevated horror thing. Like I think a lot of movies like that are very good, but like it's a thing of like you kind of have to be making a story you're invested in and not just like I feel like trying to do that kind of movie with like a franchise is just not going to work because like big franchises like Hellraiser, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, like that's stuff you're going in for just like fun, just like a fun gory time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
sorry.
And like I don't remember if I've mentioned this on a podcast or anything, but like I hate the term elevated horror because like it's really just like art house horror is what it is, and the term elevated horror came from like fucking award show people who want to justify liking a horror movie.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, I like Get Out because it's elevated horror. it's not horror. It's a good movie. And to those kind of people, I just say fuck you, because horror is good.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't invent that phrase when Silence of the Lambs came out. Man, they had to be sweating before that ceremony. Are we really gonna give a horror movie awards? Oh no!
It's got Anthony Hopkins. It's good. I don't know.
God, yeah. Tim, you mentioned the thing about franchises and how trying to make those elevated horror just would not work. Man, oh man, I do not want to see an elevated horror take on A Nightmare on Elm Street ever. Ever. Don't ever fucking do that, please.
What, you don't want to see A Nightmare on Elm Street where Freddy is the manifestation of childhood trauma? You don't want to see...
God, no. Look, it was bad. It was bad enough when Michael Bay tried to make that remake seriously when he produced it, by just like flat out taking away all the fun of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies
and just, all of the subtext.
Yeah, and they just overtly make Freddy a pedophile. Yeah, it was bad enough when they did that. Do not fucking try to make that thing serious. Like, don't make it elevated horror ever. I swear to God. But
it fell.
Go ahead,
It fell so flat at the end when they asked Odessa Zion. They're like, "What's your wish?" And she's like, "I don't want anything. Fuck you guys. If I wished for like." If I wished for a bowl of soup, you'd pour it on my head, kind of thing. And then they just give her this. Pinhead just gives her this long speech. She's just like, "Oh well, then you shall lament about all the people you've hurt with your heroin addiction," or some shit. Just like this speech about just like, you have overcome drug addiction, but it will haunt you forever. I mean, the puzzle box. Just fucking sucked. I was just like, this blows. This is gonna get people to do drugs. This is gonna have the opposite effect. I'm gonna go pound Oxycontin because I hate this movie so much.
See, that's that specific scene, and I'm gonna go back and use David S. Goyer's Batman vs Superman example again. That's a scene for me that, in theory, could possibly work if the rest of it was like done better and the themes were a little bit more straight, and if it was just also just executed better, but the rest of the movie just doesn't justify it working. And the comparison that I have with Batman versus Superman, it's the Martha sequence. That whole scene, it's really fucking good, but the rest of the movie just it doesn't make it work in that same regard. And then later they go and fucking contradict it. God, David S. Goyer, what the fuck are you doing, man? Come on.
You shall lament. Why did you say that name?
you wrote Blade, god damn it. Do better. All right. I'm running out of things to talk about. Do we just want to go into final thoughts?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, Austin, your final thoughts.
Um, I was deeply disappointed that this wasn't the knockout smash needed so that I could convince all these new people to go watch the old Hellraisers. It's just another passable thing people are gonna call decent with their anime glasses on and tinted hands, and we're all just gonna forget about it in a couple weeks. At least Jamie Clayton fucking nailed Pinhead. That was a difficult maneuver to pull off, and everybody else did passable. No one was like embarrassing. So I guess they save face, but at what cost? David S. Goyer do better. I don't know. But fucking 3 out of 10.
All right. Shit. Sorry, I've been coughing this entire fucking podcast. Tim, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I think it's fine. Like, it has a lot of issues, as we've discussed. I think that, again, David Bruckner, he has a lot of promise as a director. I think he should maybe stay away from franchises, because that's not really his strong suit. Like, he should make, like, they should fund his standalone projects. Like, give him a big budget to do just whatever fucking cool shit he wants to do. Maybe not so much here's the new, like, Hellraiser, here's the new Friday the 13th or whatever. We need slashers to be fun again.
Yeah.
Like,
Just get Ty West to keep making them.
yeah, exactly. And like I'm not the hugest on the slasher genre. I've just found myself to be more of a fan of like supernatural type stuff. But like, I think if you take the fun out of that kind of movie, like, it kind of slogs, and that's what you get here. So yeah, just give David Bruckner money to do cool things that he wants to make. Back to you, Joe.
Yeah, okay. My final thoughts are it was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I agree with Tim. David Bruckner should probably stay away from franchise stuff. Uh, and I also agree with Austin. If there's one thing to really like take away from this, it's Jamie Clayton fucking killed it as Pinhead. So I don't know. I guess if you want to watch it, go ahead. It's October. It's spooky season. You're probably just not going to get much out of it. It's kind of an in one year, out the other kind of horror movie. But there's far worse things that you could be watching this spooky season. I will say that. And with that, we wrap up our bonus cast on Hellraiser 2022. Let us know what you guys thought down in the comment section below, as I am slowly like dying for some reason. What do you think of Hellraiser 2022? What do you think of Jamie Clayton as Pinhead? Do you think that this should also be rebooted? Comment below, let us know. While you're down there, hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so we know how much you love us. And hit the bell icon for updates on when we upload new videos. Check us out on Spotify, where I think they're uncensored. The bonus casts are uncensored both on YouTube.
We don't edit these things. That's the whole point of the bonus cast.
Okay, yeah. So it's uncensored both here on Spotify, but on Spotify you have uncensored versions of the actual podcast. Same with Apple Music and all the other fun podcasting platforms that we're on. Go check us out there. Check out our Twitch page. I'm pretty sure some of us are going to come back and do some live streams here soon. We're not monetized on any of this shit. And Austin's a very hungry man as an editor. So go over to our Patreon, donate some money there, so we can get that boy fed, so we can keep making all these awesome edits.
You could be the first person that we put in the end cards.
Exactly. It's like we got fun reward perks too if you donate. So go there, check that out. check out our social medias as well. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Uh, I think Tanner made a fucking grinder for Bomb Squad. Even we don't know, uh, but yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for Hellraiser 2022. We don't know when the next bonus cast is gonna be, so I can't really promote anything. So I will just end it with a fond farewell. Have a great rest of your spooky season.
We'll tear your soul apart.
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."